This is a brief history of B&H, everyone's favorite photo and video store. The year was 1973. The Mets went to the World Series. The first cell phone call was made. And Bleamy and Herman opened a specialty photography shop at 17 Warren Street, New York City. They had a simple philosophy.
Be honest, treat people right, and they will come back.
Thanks, Irving. Also, free candy. And it worked. Over the next 20 years, we expanded and moved to West 17th Street, then 34th Street and 9th Avenue, and added more products. Lighting, binoculars, telescopes, audio, video, tripods, computers, printers, mobile, televisions, projectors, drones, and even more free candy. Now it's 3 stories and over 400,000 products and over 1,000 employees. We take millions of orders online and ship to 179 countries and counting. You can talk to us in person, on the phone,
B&H, how can I help you?
or online. Check out our checkout baskets. Also check out our checkout numbers. Also check out the flare on Marae's vest. And everyone's favorite part, our conveyor belt.
The benefit of the conveyor belt is you don't have to worry about the product or schlep it around anymore until checkout.
Nice. These are the owners. They still come to work every day. They're around here somewhere. Anyway, this is Jeanette. Oh, sorry, she's busy. This is our warehouse. This is Yakov and Levy fighting over lighting kits. B&H is not a chain. B&H is open every day, except Saturdays, of course. Now you know almost the whole story. We are B&H.
Our spring tour in Germany, 20-city spring tour, was canceled, followed by summer festivals that were canceled both in the United States and in Germany.
Ethical Brew has been closed down due to the pandemic like everyone else, as is my personal business.
Everything else is like gone. All the other work is gone. And
really done anything but grocery shop, which I've become very good at.
This year, we've struggled with underwriting. It makes sense businesses out there are struggling and don't have the extra money to advertise.
Thanks for the opportunity to tell you about it.
Hi, everyone, and what I miss the most, my biggest challenge during COVID, is I miss seeing you.
Zoom can't detect my microphone. My default filter has changed. Also, all these amazing things I never thought I would have to learn, right? Because I would just say things like, well, Pete's got that.
My name is Ellis Paul.
Hello, Sonia Disappear Fear here.
Hi, I'm Jess Spanoff. I'm the music director of MVY Radio on Martha's Vineyard.
Hello, everyone. This is Perry Stein. That's Stein from Ethical Brew.
Hey, everybody. It is Jess Ratzi here.
Hey, everybody. Joe Crookston here.
Hey, everybody. My name is Izzy Heltai. I'm a singer-songwriter based out of Western Massachusetts.
Hello, music lovers. This is Dan Godfrey, treasurer of Norfolk.
My name is Justin Nordell, and I am the executive director of the Philadelphia Folk Song Society.
Over the last year, I have had the privilege of participating in the planning of Norfolk 365.
Reassessing and trying to share information and Zoom discussions and content around artist and venue needs, specifically during a pandemic.
Some news about the Northeast Folk Alliance Mentor Program. Biff Kennedy and I have been working very closely with the programming committee at NERFA to put together a year-round online mentor program and sign up to meet with, to have conversations with, to learn from, and get support from mentors in our community. Right now, it's essential. We all have so many questions as we move forward in the uncertainty. So we look forward in early December to rolling out this online mentor program. Stay tuned. If you would like to be part of it, we would love to have you. So the NERFA Mentor online program coming soon. Take care, everybody, and be safe.
There are already a number of ways that you can connect with people. Most of us are familiar with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but what we're looking to do with 365 is a little different.
As has always been the case in NERFA, one of the most impactful ways that we all grow together is through sharing with our peers. There's immense value in discovering how a fellow musician, presenter, or other music professional is meeting the challenges of furthering their careers, especially in these changing times. NERFA 365 is planning to host a number of opportunities for groups of peers to gather together to reconnect with old friends, share stories of the successes and challenges brought on by the pandemic, and to learn from each other.
There's lots of songwriters at NERFA who want to hear what you're doing. There's a lot of venue owners that want to hear what you're doing, radio people that want to see you do it in a tiny little hotel room where you cannot help but be, in the moment.
I was brought on to the NERFA programming committee last year to plan workshops and panels dedicated to diversifying our community and member base with hopes of being a more inclusive space for all types of people. This year we're still actively taking steps to do that.
One of the key components of NERFA's success over the years has been the level and professionalism of the panels and workshops that we've offered. It's always been our goal to strive to present to you ways to increase your proficiency in the ways that you are presenting yourself, in the ways that people perceive your product, in the way that you can market yourself, and to do our best to give you the tools to get in front of and impress every person that you perform in front of.
As part of NERFA 365, NERFA is going to be offering monthly juried showcase opportunities. That is right. NERFA is going to be able to present you in front of presenters like me and so many others of my colleagues to be able to have your music showcased for us so that we can find ways to present you perhaps digitally in a virtual or digital concert venue or in person when we're able to do that again.
I really love NERFA a lot and love helping them out any way I can.
This place, NERFA, is the right place to go out, meet people, create friendships. I'm not just saying connections, but create friendships and community around your music and learn how to be better at doing it. Not just with business, but with songwriting.
We're in the early phases and we've got a whole lot of hurdles to jump. We are absolutely dedicated to serving you, our community, and the people that we care about. Good evening and welcome to another night of wonderful NERFA programming. And this is particularly wonderful because I'm only going to be here for a couple of minutes, so you only have to deal with me for that. You have three remarkable panelists getting together to have a really wonderful discussion that, frankly, we should have started happening a long time ago. And we're really happy to start that now and to continue it as we move forward. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ethan Baird, the Executive Director of NERFA. I'm here specifically just to let you know what's coming up. This Monday, we have a performer peer group meeting at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is an opportunity to meet with your peers as musicians, talk through sort of the trials and tribulations of COVID life and where we are and where we're trying to get, and the light at the end of the tunnel maybe, and how we're all thinking about that and what it means to us. So that's going to be this Monday. If you're interested, just email performer@nerfa.org and you'll get an invite, and we'll love to see you there. Secondarily, you will have noticed we just ran a commercial for this Spotlight program. You might be asking what that is. The Spotlight program is an opportunity for you to submit any music video that you have put together to be judged by a series of panels for free. And the three winners every other month that get chosen get $250 gift certificates to B&H Audio and Video, which is the largest audio and video reseller in North America, wonderful partners of ours. And you'll get a video with three judges talking about how wonderful you are, which we figure is probably a nice bit of it too. So I'm very happy to say one of our winners of the first ever program is the panelist tonight, Abbie Gardner. So we'll be inviting her on in just a moment. The last thing I wanted to say is as a follow-up to this conversation, we'll be having a very special peer group for the female identifying members of our community to sort of have a discussion about opportunities and ways that we can make our spaces more inviting and more safe. So if you're interested in that, there'll be a link to a survey up on the screen for a good portion of the evening. Please take that survey and let us know how to get in touch with you, and would love to have you join us. And that's enough for me. Thanks for tuning in. We'll invite the panelists on in just a moment.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Well,
Hey there.
Yay. So fun. I'm really excited, bubbling over with excitement about this panel. It is Women's Month, and I have had numerous conversations with Ethan at NERFA and Folk Alliance and other places, just looking around and thinking, like, why are there not more women taking lead on guitar? Why are there not more women sound people and teachers and every part of the music business? Why is it so male dominated? And we've had this question for so long. We've wanted to have this conversation and invite some really strong female role models in to figure out how did we get here? I ended up taking the lead, and I take solos in my band and also on my own. But how did I get here? And maybe this conversation can help turn the tide for some of you and kind of uncover some of the mystery surrounding how we got here. So my name is Abbie Gardner. I am from, I grew up in New York, but I live in Jersey City, New Jersey. And I grew up as a classical flute player, which is a completely gender stereotypical instrument for me to choose. It was safe. I could read the music and knew exactly what what to play and what the right answer was. Somewhere along the line, I switched to an instrument that is completely male dominated. There's about 4 or 5 professional musicians who are female who play the dobro. And so that's what I do now. And you know, the journey to get there is something I'll get into a little bit later, but now I know the joy of improvising. I still look around at jam sessions and I see mostly men, but I grew up with 2 older brothers, so I'm really comfortable being the only girl. So that's not to say that I'm not still scared sometimes. So we'll get into some of that other stuff, but that's my basic story, and I want to introduce you to Dirje Childs, who's here with us also.
Hi, I'm Dirje Childs, and it's pronounced Dirje, and it's very easy, but it's a Dutch name, and I'm not Dutch. My eccentric composer father gave me that name. I was very, very blessed to have a brilliant father who is a composer and gave me a lot of the musical gifts I have. Though he didn't raise me, I ended up in a home with a lot of music and started playing, self-teaching folk guitar eons ago, singing, songwriting, that kind of thing. And we had an old cello in the closet. And I was like a 5'7" child with a good ear. And the cello was fascinating. So I took cello in school, but I never did the formal cello college repertoire. So I played almost extensively by ear, though I did read music and play in chamber orchestras. And I kind of gravitated more toward cello as I came back to folk music when I realized folk music had changed so much, and the cello just fit so well. At that point, I was already working as a mental health therapist. I got my master's in counseling, helping people really find what the universe was whispering in their minds to be. And so I became involved in folk festivals, touring, recording, working with singer-songwriters, supporting singer-songwriters in that sense, loving it. And all along kind of shyly writing music, but kind of staying in the shadows because I was one of those children to hear music in my head all my life. So then with the great encouragement of Dodie and Billy Crockett, some dear Texas friends from Blue Rock Studios, I decided to become a certified music practitioner and bring my cello bedside and into therapeutic settings with people. And it just made the perfect combination. And I've enjoyed that a lot. That's my path, is to companion people, whether it be on a joyful or transitioning through death to the beyond, or whatever your path. My cello loves to whisper to you and to sing to you. And finally, I have, at age 65, made the step, in spite of everything, to apply and become a candidate now. I'm in an MFA program in Vermont at a low residency program for music composition. And so it's possible to step out and do really scary things later in life. And I'm just honored to be here with you. And with that, we have lots to share. And so I'd like to pass this back to Abbie.
Yeah. Oh, so glad to have you. And let's hear an introduction from Lisa Markley also.
Wow. So I'm Lisa Markley, and you guys, if anybody out there watching, if you know the Malvinas, some people might know me from the Malvinas as far as the folk world. And so that's the irony, is that I'm sitting here in this chair about taking the lead when my bandmate is Gina Forsyth, you know, who is the most phenomenal fiddle player on the planet. And you don't hear me take leads on guitar because that's not what I improvise on. I started trombone at the age of 10 in 1974. There weren't a lot of girls doing it. I just looked like a really cool instrument. And the first thing my parents asked was, "Are you sure you don't want to play the flute?" I was like, "No way, no way," And so and it was all fine. I I have over the years of teaching and of course raising a neurologically diverse child, I understand that my mother and my brother and myself and my and my niece and my own child are on the spectrum, and having taught for 17 years in the classroom, I recognized Asperger's type traits. And it's like, oh my gosh, this all makes sense now. I had a freaky ear. I just had a freaky ear. And I didn't realize how unusual it was that I could hear and play by ear the way I could until I began teaching children and realizing that I was kind of weird. But it was all cool until high school, and I was playing in jazz band, and our band director asked us to have a chair challenge, which was required. We didn't have a choice. It was like, that was our semester grade. And well, I was a freshman, and like you, Abby, I'm used to being the only girl in the room. I grew up with two brothers. And so it was like, okay, there's a chair challenge. They stick a piece of music in front of me. It just happened to have 16 notes and 16th note patterns, and none of the other boys had practiced. And so I got bumped up to first chair, past all these boys who were older than me, and they were mad. They were mad. And so that was my first taste of, they were mad and jealous, and it came out in the form of sexual harassment. And so it kind of toned me down when I started improvising and I was being bullied. I quit improvising. And so it's been a very strange journey. And on top of all this, I was debilitatingly shy, except when I picked up the trombone. Woo! Trombone is big and loud, but
yeah.
And so, but I really was obsessed with song and wanted to sing. I didn't let anybody hear me sing until college. And then people reacted to my voice. And that was my great journey, was singing. And so I sold my horn. I got through college on it, and I sold it so that I wouldn't, and it was like letting go of this identity. And then I returned to college in grad school for vocal jazz, where we really got our butts kicked in improv and bebop improv. And for vocalists, you're really exposed. And so now I'm coming full circle at 57, missing my horn. And now I understand it, because I realize what you do through the horn is you're singing. And I have something to say now, because I'm 57. So I pick the horn back up and am very gradually getting my embouchure back. So that's my bizarre, long, roundabout thing. And what did I ultimately become is a chick singer. Only it's my instrument, So nobody's going to see me at the Kerrville Circle scatting solos or playing trombone. But and so in the midst of all that, I make my living as a teacher, which is my other great love. I don't do it because I have to. It is convenient that I get paid, but I love it. I love it. I love it. And so what I'm hoping we'll get into today is a little bit of how I coax kids out that I see that are also debilitatingly shy and afraid to take a step and afraid to improvise in front of people. And it applies to grown-ups too, how to break it down and how to overcome your fears so that you can speak musically. And that I'm going to shut the heck up, and we'll keep going forward.
That is so great. I love hearing, I didn't know all that about your story, and it's just really encouraging to hear you coming full circle like that. That's just beautiful. I love it. So I did promise before we get into some of the barriers and the reasons why it's hard sometimes to step into the lead, especially for women. But we're not negating any boys or other genders that may feel shy and may be reserved and have something holding them back. So if this applies to you, any of this, please take what you can from it. Or if you know other people that know that they're holding back also, this may not even be something that's right for you, but maybe there's somebody else, your partner or someone you love. So, I did promise a little bit of the research, because I started digging into all right, well, when I go to the jam, I only see, like, I'm the only girl, and sometimes I'm passed over in jam circles. This has even happened at Vocal Alliance, where I'm sitting there and I'm ready and I have the eyes, like the eye contact, like you're supposed to have in a jam circle, like, I'm ready. Nope, they skip like in a circle and I'm right there. I'm like, what's going on? But this is not just me. This is, and it's not just you. It's so interesting that some of the things I dug up. I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this by any means, but I did a little bit of research online and some of the interesting things that happen. First of all, when kids are first coming up, very stereotypically, and there's exceptions to this, girls, when they're growing up in kindergarten, they have better attention spans in general. So they're praised for their work being successful or being accurate, sitting there and doing their work. So good job, you're good. That's the message that they often get, not always, but often. And then little boys are typically more energetic and have shorter attention spans. So they, in general, will be praised for trying and for working at the skill. So they get this message that they can get better if they just pay attention and spend more time on it. And girls somehow get this idea that I am good or I am not good. I have this skill or I do not have this skill. And the trying is not quite as reinforced. So this is something that I've read in a few different journals. Another interesting thing is by grade school, kids start to identify a gender preference for instruments. So flute and piano, female. The girls are like, these are the ones I want, stereotypically. And then the boys are guitar, drums, horns. But the good news is that these choices can change. There have been studies by the Music Educators Journal that these choices can change if they see a role model playing a different instrument. So if they see a girl playing drums, they're like, oh, yeah, sure, I like drums. And it's that easy. So just that visibility can change things. Another encouraging thing I found was that 50% of new guitar sales are female. So that's amazing. And that's Fender that did that study. They're shifting their whole marketing strategy. It's all to do with money for them, but whatever. I don't care. I'll take it. So now they're shifting their strategy to put more women in their commercials and give more visibility to women playing guitar. Unfortunately, the same study marked those women as never imagining that they would play lead guitar, that mostly they would just play by themselves, alone, where no one can see them. So still a little reserved there. Let me just mention one more other thing. Oh, I wanted to get away from the developmental stuff and go towards the lifespan. So like top 10 guitar player lists. So this is a study by the University of Tasmania, and they studied all these top 10 guitar player, blah, 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 a ton of lists. They collected all these lists, and there were basically only 33 people mentioned in the top 10s of these lists, not one of which was a woman. Wow. So Bonnie Raitt was all the way down at number 89, only on one of those lists. So it didn't make top 10, didn't even make top 20, Bonnie Raitt. Susan Tedeschi, not multi-Grammy winning guitar player, didn't make any of the lists. Sean Colvin, Janice Ian, like Michael Jackson's, both of his guitar players who toured with him didn't make the list, and they're both women. So, I mean, that is, you can take that with a grain of salt because the people making the lists may be older men in rock music. That it's kind of a cycle that perpetuates itself, perhaps. That's hard to say, but it is. It's rough. It's rough out there for the ladies. I don't know if you guys have anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in. When we were excitedly looking at this whole topic, we thought about gender socialization. And so in the digging I did, some things jumped out immediately. And I think it's a great time to kind of insert this as an umbrella to listen into as we continue. And there were 4 big areas where gender socialization takes place. And the first, of course, is the family. And if you have a child that doesn't have musicians in the family, they're going to be socialized differently. So we're not only talking about socializing women, we're talking about how are you socialized as a musician. So family is big. And then as that little child grows, school is big. Like you were discussing about if we sit still and we're good and we're either good or we're not, you know. And then peer group becomes huge because as we age as teens and young teens are influenced. And if people think, oh, she's a tomboy, she wants to take karate, or she wants to play trombone or tuba or whatever. I mean, those do impact a child. And the last is mass media. So I invite us all to think about that, those 4 categories: family, education, peer group, and mass media, which can include TikTok, which can include YouTube, whatever messages are coming across about gender. Yeah. And not just women, I'm talking about gender, period. That's how we get our information. But the best part is those are the very avenues that person by person, we can begin making a difference by speaking to those very avenues. So that's just what I wanted to add here.
Yeah. That's great. Lisa, did you have anything you wanted to jump in and say about all that?
Well, I can just speak to my experience in the classroom, and that so I spent 17 years teaching in a parochial school, and of course the whole Catholic Church setup is patriarchal, and so you know, the girls have to wear dresses even when it's 17 degrees out, you know, and the boys get to wear pants and sneakers. And I mean, there are just so many little tiny ways that the genders are treated differently. But I was in a very unusual situation in that the kids came to music every single day. And even though I don't play lead, I'm a very, very solid guitar player and rhythm player, and I know all my jazz changes, and I groove. And so that's how you win over the boys in the classroom, you know, because otherwise music teachers were pretty square. And so I could usually wrangle the boys in that way, and they could see me modeling that a woman can play the guitar and play it well. And, you know, I would have kids writing me notes saying, "You even play better than my uncle." You know? It's so cute. And they say, "Oh, I hate to say it, I love your voice." And so, and then the girls would see that too. And we actually were able to get 21 guitars, and I could begin teaching classroom guitar. The other interesting thing, well, too, I was mainly teaching Orff methods. So we had the xylophones. And everything is set up between that and all the drums that we had. I was either facilitating drum circles or grooving and spontaneous composition, a group on the xylophones, or we were playing guitar. And so it was really about getting the instrument in the hands of all the kids. And, you know, in kindergarten, it's one thing. And I taught them through 8th grade. And usually in junior high, music is an elective. But in my school, it was mandatory, and which was good and not good. You know, there's nothing like teaching music to a kid that doesn't want to do it in junior high. And it's pretty amazing to stick a drum in front of somebody and have them refuse to hit it. For the most part, if I did the right thing, I could draw them out. But and there would be kids that I had taught for 10 years. I would have taught from pre-K through 8th grade. And there is something that happens to the girls and the boys. The cloud descends in junior high. But there's this closing in, an absolute closing in. And so my job was to create an environment where they could feel safe to step out and make a sound. And there are a lot of different ways you can do it. Really, modeling is a huge part of it. I'd make sure to make mistakes in front of them, and then they could see how I recovered from my mistakes, and I would always own up to them.
That's
You know,
awesome.
I want them, they have to see that, you know, and that I didn't melt and die, you know, I just go, oh, I hit the wrong chord there. Wait, what capo do I put this song on? You know, and just really bring them into the process to where music is free and to play. And then I would finally say, when I teach privately, actually my most challenging students are women who are my age and older, who want to return to piano, and they're so afraid to make a sound. And they're like recovering from their previous piano teacher, or their mother just tormented them while they were supposed to be practicing. And it's really, really hard to deprogram that and to create a safe space where they feel like they can make a sound. It's okay to make a mistake. And it's like the younger we can get them, the better, you know. But anyway, I don't know what this has to do with anything other than that. A big part of it for me is modeling, and I'm totally out there. You want to see me make a clam? I'll make a clam. You know, I'll just totally mess up in front of my students, and so that they can. It's desensitizing, Dirje, right? Is that the word that you would use? Maybe, yeah. To just
Yes, it is, and it's holding it playfully enough that you're not fragile, and that your worth as a human being and your joie de vivre is not dependent on a wrong note you play. And that is part of how to hold this playfully, which is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can surprise yourself. The thing I loved about moving from classical music, where I'm reading the music and it's saying like, this is the way that's right, to improvising, is that I don't know what I'm going to play when I'm improvising. And there's a million ways that are right. And often I'll play something I didn't practice. And that wouldn't happen unless I was improvising, usually with people. And it just kind of changed my life to have, you know, is that a wrong note? Not necessarily. Maybe that's exactly right. You know, and that's more, I feel like, I don't think I'm the only one who's just, you know, less good at perfection and more good at just fly by the seat of your pants and take it in context. It's sort of like the rest of life. Was that a mistake, or was that exactly what should have happened?
Well, and I think you brought up, what you both have brought up before, is that if we don't know how to enter, if as women especially, we've never stepped out in a circle, it's kind of like if people look at you, hey, want a solo? And it's like merging on the freeway. It's like, oh, hell to the no. I'm not getting in traffic and rush hour traffic. I don't even know what note I play. I don't know where to find it on my instrument, you know, those kinds of things. But so that's part of what this is about, is learning to hold it playfully, and then maybe coming up under with some skill building to support yourself, so you build that confidence to then begin to take the dive, where recognizing all the time you'll have those messages from those 4 sources that you'll carry with you, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know, I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to say something completely original if we're improvising, and we have to realize there is nothing new under the sun, and the first step is imitation. I mean, that's how I learned to sing. That's how we learn to do all of it. And you know, I can speak in jazz, but of course it still crosses over to bluegrass and blues and just picking. In that we start by imitating, playing with records, and trying to do and failing at whoever it is we're listening to on the record player or the CD player or your iPod.
Yeah, laughing.
And just knowing, you know, how do you recover from that? I find the voice is a really powerful thing. I feel like when we're dealing with instruments that are outside of our body, we rely on our digits and whether we're hitting the right notes, and then the ear follows and goes, oh, that's what that note sounds like. And eventually in time, it's to where your brain can say, oh, my finger's going to go here. It's going to sound like this. And then you play it and it does. That connection is what we're all looking for. The voice is interesting because you cannot sing what you cannot hear. In a way, though, with trombone, dobro, any fretless instrument, you have to be able to hear pretty dang quickly because you've got to be able to hit things in tune and adjust. All of my students, if they're instrumental students, I have them sing what they're playing. And there's a great interview with Van Cliburn talking about when his mother first taught him piano at 4, before he went on to other teachers. He was not permitted to play anything if he couldn't sing it first. And he said that to the day of that interview, that he still could not play anything faster than he could sing it or hear it in his head. And in the Kodai method, which is a pretty rigid method, but it's very powerful, sound first, then reading. And we teach children to sing everything, and we're really teaching them to audiate. Can they hear? And we play so many singing games to where by the time they hit first grade and we're ready to start throwing a music staff at them and instruments in their hands, they already can sing in tune, they can hear in tune, they can navigate music.
Wow.
And so all of my instrumental students privately, I make them sing to themselves. It doesn't have to be beautiful. And then all of my vocal students, I expect them to play an instrument. And all of this is because anybody that wants to go to college is going to get thrown into the ear training singing class. And the instrumentalists are going to freak out because they have to sing. They're just going to fall apart, you know. And so to me, this is the instrument. This is the instrument. This is where we imagine the sounds. And what we want to do is connect this to whatever we're playing, whether it's a piano or a guitar or a voice, that whatever we can imagine, we can execute. And so that's where I hone in. And a lot of music educators, I'm frustrated in that they don't do that. It's all about the written page. And what you have in the Kodai method, the one thing I'm just going to say, and then I'll shut up, is that in kindergarten, when we enter kindergarten, we already have a command of language. We're not reading, but we've got thousands of vocabulary words. We can speak in complete sentences. We can just communicate our thoughts. And then we begin to ease kids into reading. And that's how music needs to be. And just imagine, what kind of speakers would we be if we were not permitted to speak until we could read it off the page? And what kind of speakers would we be if we were only permitted to speak what somebody else wrote for us?
Wow.
You know, and so this is the power of playing by ear. And yet so many pedagogues on piano will beat playing by ear out of the kids. You know, hopefully they don't use rulers anymore, but and so you get a classical musician that's just freaked out that they have to use their ears and think on their seat of their pants. And so to me, that's the hardest part to teach and to allow. But children, we're ready to do that. And so it's just so exciting. Anyway, I could go on.
We had a question come in, Lisa, that applies to what you were talking about. Megan Carey says, I love the idea of singing it first and then being able to play it. Do you recommend singing leads in our head as we go for them?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I find if I'm working out a hard riff on the piano, well, actually, I'll be working out a hard vocal riff. And I play it on the piano and sing it. And there comes a point where I can playing the piano and I still can't sing the riff. It's just too hard. And if I just finger without even making a sound on the keys, instantly I'm able to sing that passage in tune. That there's this weird, bizarre point where our brain does begin connecting to our fingers. And it transcends everything. To me, it's just like magic. I just get so excited.
So that mental practice is such a huge part of everything, you know, being able to. Just today, I was working on something. I've been working on this one song for a few days, and I haven't been able to get the solo where I want it to be. And I'm trying, you know, I'll just do another take. I'll do another take. I'm just recording by myself. There's no social pressure, but I get to the solo and I'm just like, I'm realizing I don't know what I want to say. So, just like you said, I just sang. I kind of like scat. I don't really scat, but I did. I kind of sang something into my little recording software to like, okay, I have to clarify in my brain, what do I want to say here? And where do I want the energy to get like more notes, even if it's not in tune, you know, like here's more notes and energy. And then and then where does it go from there? And just like step away from the instrument first and kind of sing it and get it in my vocal brain that way.
Yes.
How powerful
Absolutely.
to think that way, to recognize we can allow ourselves to do that and then playfully experiment with it. Because if we're going to grow that skill, if we haven't had it before, we've got to start, in a sense, with these playful steps of skill building and also intuitively seeing what's there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
It is.
I would love to, I wonder if Ethan can throw up that little graphic I made. I made a nerdy little graphic, guys.
There we go.
I love this. This is brilliant.
There it is. So it looks crazy with all these arrows, but I was trying to break it down, and you know, we all start with this interest. Maybe we're little kids, maybe we're older. I don't know. Something sparks our interest, and a lot of times it's the visibility that we keep talking about. We see someone do something and we get excited, or we hear it, or we meet them. Sometimes, you know, Lisa, you didn't see a woman playing trombone, but you're a unicorn and you did it. You jumped in, hit that step. I love it. I didn't see a woman playing dobro either. I was just like, yeah, I want to do that. That's mine.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, it can go either way. You can have that. The spark. So many people have the spark. That's like the widest part of this funnel. And then, you know, you can go to the left where you're supporting that spark, or to the right where it gets squashed, and it might get squashed forever, or for 10 years, or for 10 minutes. But I would love to talk about some of these things that support that little spark of interest. So maybe you don't know what you're doing at all. When I started playing dobro, I got right in a band less than 6 months later, and I was on stage playing solos, and it definitely was too hard. I was terrified. I had no idea what I was doing, but I kept, I had support. I had the support of 2 other women in my band. I just tried to play and not judge myself. I was okay with being an outlier, all of that kind of stuff. And hopefully, you know, me doing it and not exploding or passing out on the stage encourages other people, you know?
Yes, because you're modeling and they see and hear you and get excited. That's fabulous.
Right. Even if you're not even that good, as long as you're not exploding.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're modeling. Yeah. I wonder if you guys can speak to your experience with that too. Times you've been encouraged or squashed when it felt too hard, or you're embarrassed, or something that kind of took away that spark.
Wow. When I started back to playing the cello as an adult and started playing, like went to Kerrville Folk Festival for the first time and I went with and played with Carol Elliott and on main stage, and it was my first experience. And thankfully, the things she played were in keys that were not really hard for me. Because again, remember, I'm not a paper trained cellist. I'm much more fly by the seat of my pants, play by ear. And I had such a positive experience. And a friend came up to me afterward and said, because I had a notebook, because I had charts. I had letter names and words. That was my chart. And he came up to me and he said, well, who wrote the arrangements? I said, there are none. I'm making it up. And his response to me was so positive that I thought, there's something here I have to respect. And the best part is it's bigger than me. And so I'm going to step back and relax into the fact that if I get out of the way and hold this gently and courageously and playfully, things will show up. On the flip side, sometimes people would ask me at the last minute. I'm famous for just walking out in front of the crowd and sitting down. If somebody asks me, never heard the song, doesn't matter. Because guess what? The cello goes low and slow. It's not a wild, fast instrument. So I can go quietly singing the heart of the song. I'm not like burning on some wild solo. My solos are long and lyrical. But if it's the key from hell, and the guitar player's never played with a string player, and I have no frets, folks, and I'm in some key from hell, I can at least find certain things in fifths across the strings. And then it's just smile, poker face, get out of the way and play, knowing that you may honk. You may honk in a quiet part because you've never heard the song, and you just flow with it. And as Susan Gibson used to say, nobody usually dies in live folk music when you take a risk. Love Susan Gibson, you know.
Totally. I had an experience where I got asked to play with Keb Mo, who was like one of my heroes. I've listened to him forever. And he had me play this song that with like way too many chords in it, and I was not ready and didn't know the song, but I knew the key. And I was like, okay, I picked out 5 notes that worked, and I just stayed on those 5 notes. So like I know that's one of the one of my tricks is just, and with teaching people too, just limit the notes and worry about the rhythm. You can make a lot of music with rhythm and just
groove. That's it.
Small. You don't hunt and peck for things, which I'm guilty of also. But
well, and it's funny.
You,
well, I was thinking how we were taught improv in high school, and all the band director did really was he gave us the name of the chord, and we learned, you know, which notes were safe in that chord.
Yeah.
And that really isn't the deal, you know. In the end, it's about the rhythm. It's really about the rhythm, and the pitch doesn't matter. Ultimately, if you have something to say in your rhythmic phrasing, do it. And I find, especially the folk world and the singer-songwriter world, you might take a solo, but for the most part, you're doing fills between vocals, and you're listening really hard. And it might be about riffs, it might be about sequences and some repetitive things you can add that complement the vocal without distracting from it, or it might be making up a descant or a counter line. And so it's very much, I find, in improvising on a song, the first thing I do, and I keep thinking of the Louis Armstrong quote. He's like, well, first I sing the song, and then I sing the song around that, and then I sing the song around that. And that's how he scats. And I'm like, that's the big deal, you know. And once it becomes goes into the university, you know, we start making cerebral and about the mathematics of bebop and stuff, and that's a bit paint by number the way they teach that. It leaves the song behind completely, you know. But at the same time, there was some really cool stuff I learned in the bebop improv class that demystified improvisation for me and gave me ways to exercise and bring to the practice room a sense of play. And it's all about thirds and sevenths, and then you start making up little rhythmic sequences, and you use your iReal Pro or whatever backing track you have, and you cut loose. And then whatever happens in a performance, whether you choose to take a solo or just want to change up your lead vocal a little bit, you have explored every essence of the song that you're doing. And you can think on your feet and just spontaneously go, oh, I imagine this, I can do this. And so there's a lot of different ways to teach improv, but what they did with us in high school, just giving us 3 notes and having us go, bah, that really didn't do it, you know. and so I'm glad there are better ways to learn now. But I think song circles are tricky. They're not a typical jam setup, and people aren't expected to solo. You know, how often do you really hear somebody in a song circle take a solo? And as a woman, or just in general, the etiquette in song circles, you have to wait to be invited to play on somebody's song. And if you're already scared to step out and improvise, you might never step out, and you might never be invited to. And so in the folk and singer-songwriter world, that's a very different experience than, say, in the bluegrass world or in the jazz world, where maybe they expect a little more improv from the instrumentalists that are hanging around. I don't know. How did you get to where you could just step out and claim your space, Abbie?
Well, I mean, that's still something I struggle with for sure, even though I've done it a bunch. I've had the experience where I go to a bluegrass jam. There's a great one in New York City, Michael Davies has, and I am much more of a songwriter and folky than a bluegrass jammer, but I like it. It's fun. So, but it's terrifying. I get there and I get what I call jamnesia, and I can't remember. I can't remember a single song that I ever knew. I know no songs, and so yeah, I've forced myself now to a couple little tricks that I can pass along is expect the jamnesia and write down like 3 songs that you know and the keys, and maybe even a little like what's the first line, and put it in your gig bag, because then you don't have that excuse when they ask you, hey, you want to do a song? And you're like, you know. But claiming the space is still hard. I do rely on still people, you know, nudging me like friends. It's great when you have a friend at the jam saying, hey, take one, you know, get up there. Yeah. And that's really helpful. Also, just any kind of practicing you can do at home. We mentioned the strum machine. iReal Pro is better for jazz. It's like backing tracks, but there's also a strum machine for folk songs. You can put in your own chords, or you can look up bluegrass tunes and just play along, which is just such a great way, because like having some knowledge before you get in, having some firmer footing to stand on. It's still, you have to deal with the fear, but at least you have some skills there to lean back on. And the last thing I just want to, the other tool that I wanted to give you, what was it? Oh, right. A lot of people right now talking about opportunities that we didn't have before. There are these jam classes and instrumental classes happening on Zoom where the teacher is the only one unmuted. So you can play along the whole time. And there's a lot of, I'm doing a Dobro one, and the teacher will play something and everyone imitates it. He's just quiet for a minute. And then he plays something and everyone imitates it.
That's awesome.
And you get a recording of the song at the end, like of the class. So you can go back and play along to it again and again. And you're in the comfort of your own home. So it's like a great time to learn from some amazing teachers who might be, you know, my teachers in California. So, but I get to see them every week. So it's pretty amazing, these classes.
Yeah, that's so cool. I wonder if we can go back to that wonderful sheet you had on the left and the right.
Sure.
Because
I'm sure Ethan will pop it up.
This is
he went for
so
snacks.
clear that this topic is such a big one, And I want to be sure that we talk about some of the ways we block ourselves, and then some quick interventions we can give them. But that's up to you where we are in this. I love how you were leading us through this, Abbie.
Yeah. I was hoping you would tell us a little more about.
Sure.
So you know, sustaining and fostering that growth, but also just like being. What happens when you get discouraged and you know you have some feelings that you need to what did I put up there? Yeah, managing the physical and psychological effects of fear. And this is a real thing for everyone.
Sure. Do you want me to jump into that now?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I made a few notes. As a therapist who's worked with people, I got licensed in 95. Well, I'm big on Reader's Digest large print interventions, because to me, that's the only thing worth a damn in life, is a tool you can use. It's wonderful to have someone smile at you and nod, but if you walk away and you don't have a way to work on it on yourself, to me, it's not as helpful. So I'm going to dive right in. The good news is our brains are still plastic all our lives. They used to think they stopped growing and changing. They do not. So you take that fact with the fact that anciently we are wired to be hyper negative, because that's the fight or flight. That's how we've lived as cave people and on to get away from danger. So things we don't know are scary to us. And that's neurological, and that's built in. But when we look out through our own eyes and heart, when we come up on a threat, We don't know that the negative is Velcro for us and positive is like Teflon for us. So we ramp up and we immediately feel that crush of fear inside us with new and frightening opportunities. And our mind begins telling us, so we feel it in the body, we get it in the mind. That's a natural response across the board as a human. But since that's normal, we think that that's normal and all the positive falls away. So the very best way we can work with that is the first level interventions. And of course, I'm doing something super short that could be unpacked, but a first level intervention for yourself when you're starting into something that even feels risky is to work with dialing down the fight or flight part of your nervous system. And that means getting into the relaxing part. And one thing, nerve endings in your lips related to food, nursing, all of that tie into that parasympathetic calming part of half of your nervous system. So if you can, obviously with COVID, you don't want to touch your lips as much, but chapstick, that kind of thing, you can immediately biologically shift out of the fear response more and dial it back into the parasympathetic relaxing side of your nervous system with that. Another huge thing, the exhale breath is tied to that because that vagus nerve runs all down through your body. So you can take a deep in-breath, hold it, do a long exhale, do a couple of those, and you pulled yourself out of that crush of fear response into that relaxed place. The other thing, the third thing, putting your hand on your chest is like getting a hug, and it releases the chemical oxytocin in your body, which is the same as getting a hug. And it's like indoor morphine in your system. This is a very powerful thing you can do. So those three things are immediate. They're immediate ways to intervene. And that's going to help you ward off the big anxiety crush. The other thing you can do with that, and I'm doing the quick ones first, and then we'll try one more. The other thing you can do with that, now you've intervened with the physical symptoms. So what do you do with your thoughts? Well, obviously it's hard to argue with everything negative that's coming in, but you can realize, you know the jig is up now, that your brain is expert at generating all the negatives. And a lot of them come from, guess what? What our family said, what media said, what peers said, what education said, our own fears. We can dial it right on back by just saying, yes, and I'm making a choice now to try something different. And rather than holding it as something scary, we can look at it as standing on the edge of new, playful, courageous things. So those are the first level ones. Shall I continue into the second level? Okay.
Yeah, I love this.
Okay. The second level one that I think is so powerful is from this book. It was a wonderful book. It's called Hardwiring Happiness and the New Brain Science of Contentment, Calm, and Confidence. And it makes it sound like some sort of sappy thing. But this man, Rick Hansen, is a neuropsychologist, very good at what he does. This is entirely research-based. And he bases all his research on what I just told you, the two halves of the nervous system, dialing them up or down. And one of the most powerful things we can do is called taking in the good. Taking in the good. Because I told you our brains are plastic. And when we get thinking a lot about the negative things, those deep brain negative systems, it runs and runs and runs, and neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, that part of your brain grows, and you live more with the negative responses and don't even know it. Taking in the good intentionally shifts your thoughts into the positive brain anatomy. And when you keep doing it, those neurons begin wiring in that positive brain anatomy, and it dials down the patterns of negative talk, of fear, and it makes a huge difference. So the way to do that is something we're going to do right now. And I'm going to tell you what it is really fast, and then we're going to actually do it. And I usually put my hand on my chest for the extra help when I do it, just because that's oxytocin working for me. And this is something you could do in the morning. You could do a few times a day over a period of minutes that begins to add up, because it shifts your brain chemistry. So the first thing is you pick something beautiful. It can be anything you want. It could be an ocean view you love. It can be the smile of your child with chocolate ice cream on her face. It can be the smell of your lover's embrace, whatever you feel great about, or a beautiful sunset or anything. And you pick that beautiful thing and you begin, I close my eyes when I do it. You begin to go into it. So we're going to start by doing that now. So I'd like to invite you to pick something lovely. It can be the joy of your dog, anything that you find joyful. And we're just going to move through this fairly quickly. And again, I put this here because that gives me the oxytocin support. So pick that thing, and as you think about it, begin to deepen into it. Begin to engage in that. And just let it wash over you more and just sink into enjoying it. And take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Just sinking in to that beautiful thought. Let the feelings, feel the feelings around it. Just enjoy that. Take another breath in, another breath out. And just stay with it for a few more seconds, just reveling in the treasure of that thought, that feeling, that moment. No one can take that from you. That's your treasure. One more breath in. And as you exhale, open your eyes and come back to our room together. And that's a very, very, very short version of it. But when we do this often, and again, he goes into this in this book more about it, and actually uses an acronym and things, which I'm going to skip over tonight. But taking in the good literally can shift your brain chemistry. And this is a fascinating area I have that I hope sometime to share more with you about. But if you're doing the taking in the good daily, a few times a day, like when you wake or when you sleep, right before sleep, or at breaks or at mealtime, and if you're doing those first level interventions, you can begin to turn the tide for yourself in your own life in response to some of the fear reactions that are even based on difficult gender socialization. So I'm going to stop with it there.
That's so beautiful. Oh gosh, Dirje, thank you for sharing that with us. Because, you know, we only have about 5 minutes left, so we'll probably start until we do the question and answer section of this. But I think I'll just say one last thought that I had, and we'll go around and if you guys have last thoughts that you want to make sure you hit, because we could have this conversation for so many days and years.
Yeah.
we
it's
are not done.
Yeah, this is hard.
It's really
an
hard to switch
invitation.
it in.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is an invitation for a longer discussion. But as I was writing out that whole nerdy list about how to encourage us to become leaders as women and kind of tip the scales a little bit in all things music, and I was just realizing we need more courage to get over some of this socialization. We need more courage to get away from to kind of balance out some of the harassment that some of us have seen, and sometimes the competition which happens when there's there's only two women doing something. They end up competing against each other, which is just like, we don't have time for that. So getting your nervous system to a place where it can handle things even better it's just going to give you it's going to help you in all areas of your life, but it really it will make a big difference. The last thing I wanted to say about this is just that the visibility, if you go back to that chart, it's all about visibility. Whether you try once and you're like, yeah, that was kind of fun, but I don't know, I'm too scared. Maybe someone else saw you. Maybe some little girl saw you playing guitar, or if you do it for a while and then you get discouraged, maybe somebody else saw you. And even if you are a professional musician and you're still unsure, or maybe you're comfortable being a trailblazer and you're the only one that does what you do, those are still the people that need support. They need visibility. They need advancement opportunities. They can't have festivals just booking one novelty act, because women are a novelty act still. I will not name the festival, but a couple of years ago, I'm talking about when you're in the deep end, it's a small pool, and I was not even booked at this festival. I was just there, and I noticed there were 4 women total on the main stage. 3 of them were in the same band, not mine. It was a different band. And both of the female acts were on an off day of the festival, not a Friday night, not a Saturday night, and during the day. And then no other women on the festival stage. So this is the thing, if you're a presenter out there thinking like, oh, well, I already have a female act. It shouldn't work that way. I just want to put it out there that it shouldn't work that way. Like, if you have a female act, yes, a female can open for that female. It's okay. That's my thing. I just want to put it out there to stop having it be there's one female and then we can fill it in with the rest of whatever. So let's just balance that out a little bit. That's all I'm saying. All right. Lisa, what did you have to say?
Oh gosh, 100 things popped into my head.
I know.
Another book that you might want to look at is Kenny Warner's Effortless Mastery. And that really changed how my attitude. He talks about fear-based listening and how we go to a concert and that concert will be a really great artist, and one of 2 reactions might happen. You either go home all fired up wanting to practice, or you go home and you want to quit.
Yes.
And so, and once he gets to the more Zen area of it about letting go and not caring what people think, and that completely changed what happened to me on stage. So that book is just outstanding. And he's a jazz pianist, but what he talks about in terms of music, of course, would be along those same lines, really talking about the games we play with our heads. The last thing I was thinking of was an experience at a festival I was at, and I was in a circle. It was late. It was after main stage had happened. And, the dynamic of circles is kind of funny when main stagers come down. Some of the main stagers don't want to risk getting stuck in a circle because the circles can last for hours and you can't extricate yourself from it. And so you're very aware of the dynamic of that. And there's this incredible woman who was a clinician and a performer at the festival, and a monster guitar player, and she was standing, and it's late, and a bunch of people were kind of standing in a group outside the song circle that was happening. And I'm sure every one of us, including me, were like, gosh, it would be nice to come sit in the circle. But you don't want to intrude and say, come join us, because then they're pressured, right? So nobody said anything, and she didn't sit in. And word came in later that her feelings were actually hurt because she really did want to be in the circle.
Whoa.
And it made me think about, what could I have done differently? And I could certainly have had the courage to speak out loud and say, please join us, instead of being shy and just keeping my mouth shut. And I think we never go wrong when we open and invite and we reach out. And as much as we're all competing and trying to get our own little piece of whatever, it is never anything but good when we reach out and try to include somebody. And especially in the circles, that's a really big deal, to make people feel welcome and please come share a song. You know, what's the point otherwise? And whether it's for a guitar solo or to actually share their composition. So that would be my parting thoughts, is it takes courage to reach out and include. And we should all be doing it. Me especially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. I think my parting thoughts are, we're opening the conversation. We're including everybody in the conversation. And what had occurred to me last night was, we have the opportunity to influence lives coming up across the continuum, age continuum, by working in the family, by helping families that are musical or non-musical be able to know how to socialize their child to be more brave, boy or girl, you know, truly. I mean, we have opportunities to do that. We have opportunities, and every time we do, we're not only working for musical women, we're working for women, period. Because the more we speak, in a sense, to those messages, the more they change. Quick example, brilliant young woman, cellist, grew up in a musical family, socialized to play, have no fear, did some classical training, liked doing wild death metal cello instead. Years later, what did she do? Win a Golden Globe and an Oscar for writing the score for The Joker. And that's Hildur Gudnadottir, and she's an Icelandic cellist. And here's a young woman who, you know, just in a sense was socialized to be different. And I feel like that's the good message. Socialization doesn't have to trap us. It doesn't even have to trap us now. So let's go on this journey together. Let's brainstorm. Do we need to have NERFA do youth projects where we invite youth to have different new experiences? You know, what are we have all these opportunities. Please take the survey. We want to hear your voices. And that's what Hildur said at the Oscars. She said, when she took the award, she said, the voices of the daughters, the wives, the mothers, when music is bubbling up within you, we need to hear your voices. So I'll end with that, Abbie, and pass it on back to you.
That sounds so great. We're getting so many comments. I think you guys can see it at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Marianne.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ethan said there was going to be a question and answer. I love all these comments. Women notice when there are fewer women on stage. Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
That's right.
Also, men don't mind women on stage, turns out. Such wonderful thoughts, all of you ladies. Yay. Awesome. I don't know if anybody has questions out there. Ann Saunders. Ann, I was not talking about your festival. Don't worry. Obviously.
Setting a great example.
Yes, she is. It's good.
Yes, she is. Mindful of it all.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, boy. And Philly Folk Festival. Yeah, Megan Carey. Yeah. And I mean, you want it to be based on merit. You want it to be based on like, these are some great bands, you know, book them, or great solo acts. It's just, I get upset when they're females are excluded because, you know, oh, you can't book Red Molly. You already have the Waylon Jennys. You can't have both.
Oh, yes.
We're different people.
You know.
What? I want to be on a bill with them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Kind of
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone out there has questions for us. We could give you some. There we go. Where can we find these jam classes on Zoom, Megan? Well, I'm doing a specific Dobro one. I would reach out to, gosh, I wonder if Michael Daves is doing one. He does a lot of teaching and he's super encouraging. Always at the jam, asking me to do a song. But I think, you know, a lot of music schools and a lot of, you know, you can pick out your favorite guitar player. Maybe they're doing a class. I know Jalopy is a theater in Brooklyn, a venue that's doing a lot of educational stuff online, and they have a bunch of classes. Club Passim has classes, I believe, as well.
Lisa, you've got classes, right?
You have classes online, Lisa?
Yes, actually, I was teaching through Rhinebeck School of Music and teaching in the Red Hook schools, but now exclusively online, and it just completely changed my clientele and my geography. My most distant student is in London, and a lot of students across the country, people that have been asking if I could teach voice to them, and I was like, oh no, I can never do that online. That's impossible. Turns out it's not. And
that's
so.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm teaching ukulele and guitar and voice, and then of course advanced jazz voice and ear training and stuff. It's kind of a broad spectrum. My oldest student is 85, and
awesome.
You know, and he's on ukulele, and you know, just teaching him how to use a tuner so that he could have his uke tune before the lesson, because I can't do that, you know. So this online thing is incredible. I feel like. Yes, there are problems, because normally the most beautiful thing about a student and a teacher is that we get to sit next to each other and play together, which we don't get to do right now. But what I've seen is that whatever subject we're covering is that the kids or the students they're forced to become much more independent musicians. And so the online lessons are really great opportunities. There's all kinds of great ones coming up right now too, and Bernice and Alan's posting them, and so look online. But yeah, if you're looking for, I've got people coming to me, especially for rhythm hand singers already play and strum chords, but they don't know how to groove, and so I do a lot of bossa and jazz and piano and voice and songwriting, etc.
That's awesome.
Wow, look at all this.
That's great.
Musicforpeople.org.
Yes.
Gosh, I wonder if we could have a way for people to find all this information later, perhaps.
Yeah.
We gather it all up. Oh, of course, at the Ashokan. Yeah.
Oh, Jane and Molly. Yeah. That's great.
So I wonder if they're doing that online now. Yeah.
I bet you can kind of just like imagine who you would love to study with and see if they're teaching, because that's kind of what, you know, full-time musicians are doing right now, even if they didn't before. A lot of people are. This will all still be up at nerfa.org. All right, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And NERFA, with NERFA, if you guys would like more of this kind of programming of female-led or just about jamming, it doesn't even have to be female, but if there's other things that you need in your life support, you need from the NERFA people, I am sure they are more than happy to find a way to get it to you.
Get that survey and fill it out, please, because the possibilities are open, and that's the best part. Again, this is the beginning of an ongoing conversation of trading information, supporting each other, learning to hold this playfully, growing together. It's been a pleasure, hasn't it? It really has.
It really has.
It really has. Yeah.
It's been a blast.
Yeah. Thank you both for sharing all your wisdom.
Well, back at you. It's fun. It's fun to join our voices. It really is. You know,
it really is. Yeah. I'm just realizing we're 3 fretless instruments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dobro, trombone, and cello.
Woo!
We don't need no stinking frets.
No, frets just get, we get all the notes.
Fret not.
Yeah, we get the in-between notes.
Yeah, we do.
Sometimes even when I don't want them.
Sliding in. Pass it to them.
Lip it up.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, fill out that survey, everybody, and we'll, I guess that's all.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah,
Wow, Alan Roweth, we love you.
Oh,
yay.
Very dear.
And Bruce and I are doing a late live stream tonight if you guys are Facebooking.
Yay.
So we busk on Facebook every Thursday night.
I thought this was late. I'm like, my phone is telling me to go to bed.
Yeah, I know. And normally we're 8:30 to 10. So we're going to start whenever we're done here.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm gonna make a shameless plug that if people find the psychological tools interesting, I would be willing to do something longer with handouts that can actually teach some things to use to combat stage fright, some other things that are simple. Again, Reader's Digest large print. But again, these things really help us up our game and bring the playfulness we need. So if you match the playfulness with the psychologically dialing down the fear and connecting with your peers and the community, there's no end to what's possible.
That's so great. Oh my gosh. Hey, on that note.
Yeah.
I think so.
Go forth and be courageous.
Yay. Oh. And we'll see you out there. We'll be supporting you.
Make a sound. Speak out.
Yeah, make a sound. Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Ethan, how do we get off this train?
It's Ethan's job to take us off the train.
I don't know.
There he is.